Okay. Are we on? I don't know if we're on. Are we on? Are we on? Are we on? Let me see. Are we on, guys? Yeah, I think we're on. Okay. Uh, let's start this new format. I'm gonna do a live stream, but at the same time recording it. So, um, this live stream is gonna be about. I'm gonna show you how you can use the Gravity Sketch app for the iPad to sketch some shoes. Okay, so what happened was we've been doing like just a couple of sketches in Gravity Sketch beta app for the iPad, and the community or I don't know, the founder, it's the my sketches somehow got it got into the table or got into the hands of the founder CEO of Gravity Sketch. So they emailed me and they asked if we could have this, what do you call it, video call, so I can provide feedback and you know wish list or how to improve their app. It's gonna happen tomorrow. But the thing is, I haven't sketched on the Gravity Sketch app for a couple of weeks now. I think I've been a little bit busy with other things, and yeah, this is gonna be like a refresher preparation for my video call tomorrow with the Gravity Sketch team. Hopefully, I don't know who's gonna be there for the call, but Shay, the founder, is gonna be there. And actually, what Shay did was he took one of my sketches off Instagram and then sketched it himself. Yeah, I think he did it. He sketched it himself on the Gravity Sketch app, but only this time for the VR. So I have watched the video, like snippets of it, but haven't really watched it all the way through. And I just noticed that the video is around 40 minutes, and he can sketch fast. Those iPad sketches I did before, it took me maybe 1 to couple of hours, depending on the complexity of the model or complexity of the sketch. A little bit of getting used to the tools of Gravity Sketch. It wasn't really actually intuitive at first when you try to figure it out on your own, try to self learn the app. It's gonna be a little bit difficult. So my advice to you is, what I well, search. Of course, YouTube's there, so search videos on how to use Gravity Sketch for the iPad. They're gonna be coming up with a retail or final version towards the end of the year, they said. So what I'm using is a beta access app from. I got this beta access app from the Laceless Design competition. Back then, they were giving out codes, access codes, to I think a first 100 participants. So I was lucky enough to get a code, and it's been working ever since. I think it's been already what 3 months since the competition, and this thing is still working. So I'm happy to explore it. First time I picked it up, it wasn't really enjoyable. To be honest, it was really hard to figure out on your own. And then I searched a video. I forgot. I'm gonna credit the. I'm gonna try and search that video I watched. But he's another prominent or he's another popular IG sketcher or designer. So I watched that and you know figured it out a little by little along the way. So here I'm gonna play the video. So this is Shay
First thing I'll do is open up my settings,
doing
and
this
I
thing
will turn on
on
the airplane.
the.
I want to snap that sketch to the airplane. Then I'm going to come in and grab a shoe last. This is going to help me with the width. So I'll just drop that in here, and it's at
Starts with the last.
centimeters. It looks about correct there, so I'll accept it. And then I
Last
will
comes
grab
first,
an image.
like they
This
said.
is an image from one of the users in our community
That's our
who
sketch.
actually uses the iPad app. So thought it would be interesting to show him how he can use the VR app as well.
Very cool.
I'm going to come over here and turn off my scaling lock. So now I can freely scale. And you'll notice that the image isn't moving. And that's because it's technically part of my UI. It's kind of like a mood board image. But I want to make this part of the sketch, so I'm going to grab it.
He did
I'm
this
going to
sketch
uninsert it
like
from the
less
scene,
than 30
and
minutes.
now I can freely place it
So
in
let's
space.
see if we
Place it
can
right here at the middle
do
on
a
the
better
main
job
axis, and I'll scale it up just so it looks like the shoe
using
last
the
sits
iPad.
inside of the sketch.
So let's watch a few minutes of this
So that's
video.
pretty accurate. And I'll just tweak this ever so slightly. I'm also going to tweak the shoe last a little bit. So we don't have a top view or a bottom view of this sketch. Therefore, it's pretty helpful to bring the shoe last in to give us that width. And so that looks pretty good. Next thing I'll do is come over to my layers, and what I'm going to want to do here is create
Layers,
another layer.
very important.
And so I'll have the image layer and I'll have the last layer. So I'm going to grab the last and put it on this lower layer, and I'll label this last.
That's it?
Move this out of the way.
Ah, okay.
Alright, and then I'll label this one image. Or, yeah, I could name it 2D sketch maybe.
Okay.
Alright, great. And then the next layer I'll label this my 3D sketch layer. Alright, and so here I can lock these layers above, and I can change the opacity. So I can turn this layer off, turn the shoe last off, because I'll use it a little bit later.
Doing this stream like
the
12:30 in the morning
on
here.
the
So
on the shoe
it gotta be a
sketch
little bit
itself.
quiet because the wife
I'll
is
come back into my settings here,
already sleeping.
and I'll keep this
So
in
you
my
should
space because
see.
I want to make sure I keep mirror turned on. What I want to do is I want to sketch directly onto this image. So what I'll do is I'll come over to my tools, go into the deeper settings of the ink tool itself, and I'll put this in my space as well. I'm going to turn on planar. And with planar turned on, I get this plane that I can project and sketch to. And I want to snap that plane directly to the sketch.
Oh wow.
And I can do that by just half pulling the trigger. And now I can sketch freely directly on the shoe. So I'm just going to trace it. Just going to come in and trace some of these loose sketches. And I like this sketch here, and I chose this sketch because it is quite loose. It's quite free. We don't have to be too precious.
Yes.
Essentially, like represent an image or a photorealistic,
Quick and dirty.
rendering. And it's nice because what you end up having is this still a little bit of space to explore and experiment and see what's working and what isn't working. And also, I can maybe discover some things that aren't really clear in the 2D sketch when I bring that into 3D.
Exactly.
And so once you have the rough sketch lines,
Let me just pause the video a little bit.
working in planar.
Okay. Did you hear when he said working in 3D would force you, or somewhat, paraphrasing, would somehow force you to figure out those 2D loose lines and figure it out how it works in 3D. So that's one of the most, or one of the best uses of 3D applications is when you do a quick 2D sketch and you try to do it in 3D. Also in architecture, you need to have a good sense, or at least a good grasp of what's possible to build or what's possible to do. So if you look at my sketch, it's very loose. I try to think about how it's gonna be made, how it's gonna be built, but sometimes in the momentum, or in when you're in the flow of sketching, you just draw, and some of those lines, become open-ended, or you don't really notice that those lines doesn't make sense. Sometimes it doesn't make sense. So working in 3D, I think this is where I spend my most of my time on when I use the Gravity Sketch app on the iPad. So when I start with a very loose sketch and when you transfer it to 3D, you gotta have some sense of how one thing's gonna overlay somewhere, or how this layer is gonna terminate, or how this line is gonna continue to the other side. So working with Gravity Sketch, sketching in 3D, it helps you develop that part of your brain or part of your eye. You know? So yeah, let's play this video again.
What you can do is come in and edit. So actually, I'll just turn off my mirror so that I like to remove the gray plane that I'm working with. Then I'll come in and just start editing some of these strokes. And I'll move this panel off my hand as well, so just so we can edit further edits. And now I can grab some points, delete some points, move things around so they
Easier to control
better
with grips.
represent what we were
Yep.
initially working on.
Same with the iPad app. Very good.
And some
Very
of this
nice.
stuff will adapt and change as you're still figuring things out, because it's still very much the sketch phase. So there's no reason to just to kind of be extra precise. You can continue to be a bit more freeform here. And we're already missing a few strokes, so we can add those in as well. Quick way to add in strokes would be just to grab an existing stroke and duplicate it.
Oh wow. Can do that.
Do that here in a moment.
Woo.
We can delete some strokes we don't need. Let's just grab this stroke and duplicate it.
Okay.
We can come in and remove some of these points here.
Can I do that on the iPad app, please?
If you pull this into 3D, you're going to make a lot of decisions that you didn't know you needed to make because you've been working in 2D the whole time.
Yeah, I agree.
So we just keep marching through this exercise of pulling and pushing some of the lines around. I like to delete a lot of points because you get smoother, cleaner geometry.
Same. You can do that
So
iPad app.
well, you'll see me
Very
delete
nice.
quite a few points on each stroke. I could turn the smoothing down, but I also like when the stroke comes out really fluid in my when I'm sketching. So this is why I still keep the stroke count high or the smoothing a little bit minimal when I'm doing the initial sketch. Just feels a bit more natural.
Oh man.
Right.
So that tool's not available
So we'll
for the
just
iPad
tighten up a few
right
things here.
now.
This is just a demo, so we won't be too precious. I can close this gap here by just flicking on the loop command.
What?
And I can already see I want to do a duplicate here, so I'll do that as well. Come in and edit.
Wait.
And so you'll notice that in edit, if I have mirror turned on, which it stays on here, on each stroke that's mirrored, I don't have to worry about pulling it off into 3D. So I can still do quite a normal 2D workflow. And I'm just copying more points to give myself a little bit of freedom here.
It's very cool.
Maybe we add a point here. So you can choose when enough is enough. But for this sketch, I do want to get pretty close to the original design intent. And then once we're in 3D, explore some of the variants or options.
See if I can, if these basic line editing tools are available for the iPad Pro right now. Man, what a difference gonna be. I mean, just the way to generate those lines. Because right now for the iPad app, if you draw a line, that's gonna be it end to end. Well, you can actually edit the shape with the grips, but oh, see, you see the way he did it. He kind of just pulled the line and it continued. So I don't know if that's already available for the iPad app, but I haven't used that or haven't explored that feature yet. Later we're gonna try and find that out. Man, wow. Insanely fast working too. Yeah. Just building up the aerosol now, I guess. And this is still a flat sketch. If you noticed, he's not doing anything 3D yet. He's just translating the lines on a flat plane. I don't know if I can even. Whoa, what happened there? Did he just increase the thickness? This is sped up, no? This looks like it's sped up. Unless he sketches like that. Crazy fast. I'm super used to gravity sketch already. Well, he has to be super used to it right now. What do we do? Oh wow. So he thinned out the line just by what? Oh wow, contour lines. Okay, cool. Ah man. Wow. Are you serious? Okay. Dude.
Okay, so once you've done all your line work, you can start pulling this apart into 3D. And in order to do that, what we'll do is we need to understand the depth. So we're going to bring in our shoe last, and we're going to turn that transparency probably about 50%, and we'll start pulling things apart into 3D. And so we'll use our smart move to do this. We'll line up our hands and
What?
and because it's mirrored, everything is going to come off equally on each
Wait,
side.
wait, wait.
And we're only going to focus on the outside of the shoe last right now, not the insole, but the outside aspect here. And then we'll come in and do some things on the inside later.
Jeez.
So we'll just work
What?
on this for now.
Can we do that for the iPad too?
And I'm going to leave the center line here. That's going to be helpful to keep the balance.
Damn.
But everything else we'll pull off.
Ooh. It's a lot easier than the iPad app. Man. It's pretty cool.
Okay. Don't worry too much about being perfect here, because we're going to come in and edit each one of these, and we'll be able to then kind of define exactly what we're trying to achieve in edit mode. But as you can see really quickly, I'll turn off vertical lock so we can get some different perspectives. We've essentially just made like this kind of layered effect. And now we can go in and edit each individual stroke and start to convert that into a 3D
Dude, this
shape.
guy. How did he even?
So at this stage, we could probably turn off the image
How did
layer
he even
and the
decide
3D
what lines
sketch
to
layer
pull out? Like
and
what
really focus
layer
in
goes
on
over what?
the sketch and the shoe last here.
He's already thinking in advance before he did any
Maybe
pulling or
opacity
mirroring. So
up a little bit, and we'll start with the sole. That will be a good starting point for us. I'm gonna bring this out just a little bit wider, and then we'll start editing each stroke. And so the first thing you'll notice is that when you try to move it into 3D, it's locked. And as we discussed earlier, you just got to toggle off the planar, and now we can move that into 3D. I'm going to keep using vertical, or the smart move, because I want to make sure that I'm keeping a relatively consistent profile.
smart move. So what happens with
And
smart
we'll
move?
try to
Ah,
follow
okay.
the contour of the shoe last
It
here.
moves both sides at the same time. Okay. Cool. Cool.
And as you move things into 3D, you need to add points so you can balance out some of the curvature. 2D doesn't really need additional points to compensate for that third dimension. All right, and we'll probably want to bring this bit out here a little bit. So it's all a bit intuition. We don't need to really be too worried about measurements. The way we like to look at this process is it's much more like sketching on paper, or maybe a little bit of Illustrator, where you're just pushing and pulling things to see how they feel, and a little bit less around the actual like precision and modeling. That's something that could be done in many other softwares relatively easily.
Smart.
What can't be done that easily is this form finding, figuring out things in 3D. And that's really what we want to optimize for in this particular exercise. And so already trying to figure out how this back bit flows into the upper is a challenge that we're immediately faced with, right? So what we're going to do is just continue in this process for a little bit and tweak all the lines until we can get to a place where we're ready to then move into the other side of the shoe.
Let me just increase the speed here first. Oh. Speed sketch. To see how he's doing the adjustment line per line. The same with the iPad. It's a little bit more tedious working with the iPad because you only have one control point, and that's the tip of the pencil. Here, when you're using Gravity Sketch in VR, you have two hands plus all the buttons that's accessible to you. So I'm thinking there's a lot more of controls ready to access intuitively using the grips. What do you call them? What do you call them? Handles? I don't know. Those VR things. So, and the iPad is gonna be a little bit more slower because, yeah, you're doing it one tip at a time. And that smart move feature, I don't know if it's available, but I haven't come across it on the iPad yet. No, see how he's there's a little bit of the guessing part of the design right now. And on the iPad, I don't know. You probably can import a last into the iPad app, but I haven't figured it out also. Pretty cool. Nice. Oh wow. You can already see the shape. You can already see how this thing looks from different angles, and that's more additional information versus sketching in 2D. Even the top line of the silhouette, you can already see if it needs adjustment, or sometimes doing sketching it in 2D. It's the lateral part. It's hard to appreciate the curvature or the shape of the top line of the tongue. So doing it in 3D really illustrates how the tongue tightens towards the top but widens towards the bottom, or at least the throat opening. Dynamic sketch. Ooh, love that feature. That duplicate. Oh, he selected a few and then adjusted a few. Okay. Now he's doing the contour lines. Wow, that's gonna really make it look 3D. Those thin lines. Wow, I love those thin lines. So you're already getting an idea of the section of the parts. And however you change the view, the contour is gonna stay consistent. Sometimes in 2D, when you change angles, you can't really get it the same contour. Well, you can get it close to the original intent, but you cannot just be sure until you do it in 3D.
Alright, at this stage, it looks like
Pretty
we've gotten
cool.
pretty close to what we want on the outside facing part of the shoe last. And now we're going to switch over and
Oh,
start
sorry.
working
So
on
I'm guessing
the
this
side facing
took him more
part of the
than
shoe last.
30
And what
minutes
you'll notice is
because
that
of
we
the
have a
speed ramp.
perfectly symmetrical sketch here. So everything is equal. But we all know that a foot is asymmetrical. So there's a lot of things that we need to do to bring this into a bit more reasonable shape and form, something that we might
Oh
expect.
man.
But already we can understand a lot of things
It's
in 3D,
already
and
1 a.m.
there's probably a lot of decisions we can make at this stage. But let's take it a bit further, and what we'll do is start from the bottom and work our way up. So the first thing we'll do is come in here and edit the sole pieces, and what we'll do is bake mirror. And once you bake the mirror, what happens is you turn these into two separate sketches, so no
What?
longer are they parented to one another. And now we can start bringing in
What did he call it?
the shoe, or the
Bake mirror?
this line here, and it could feel a little bit more like something we would expect to see from an actual shoe that you might be wearing right now. And we can do it from the bottom as well. This might give us a little bit better understanding of the shape. And we can edit these two things together, because sometimes you want to look at it as a complete stroke. So if you just grab both strokes, you can edit both of these at the same time.
What?
And again, we'll probably need to add a couple of strokes here and there, or a couple of points here and there, just to kind of even things out a little bit. But that alone has already made a pretty drastic difference here to the overall design.
Not yawning out of boredom. It's just really like 1 a.m.
I feel like we should probably add a point.
And I
right
usually
here.
wake up early, so well, usually when I want to.
And cool, we'll just keep working our way through. So we'll bake, edit again here, and this one's going to be almost right on top. You could give it a little bit of lift too for the arch.
So let me just mute it a little bit. So you can actually see
And sometimes I'm using my
how
and other times I'm just freestyling. It's really depending on how you want to work.
how repetitive the process is in sketching in 3D. So yeah, I'm betting there's gonna be this process throughout to the end of the video. Now this is gonna be Shay's process, editing it line by line, node per node, grip proper grip until you get it right, until you're happy with the shape. So same with the iPad, it's repetitive. So if you wanna have an idea, every line probably has about, I don't know, 10, 15 to 20 adjustments depending on how well you laid out the first line. So you wanna plan out your 3D sketch uh, in advance of what lines or what shapes to draw. So keep it as simple as possible and as but as clear also as possible. I mean, you can build it up till your heart's content to how many lines you want. If you want it looking like a wire mesh, if you want it to be looking like a grid, like what do you call those 3D with the layout of measured grids, wireframe, I guess. You can do it like that, or you can do it gesturally. That's just the major parts of the shoe, and create a sketch with that. And I did this one thing when I finished a 3D sketch with, well, a little bit more lines than what I wanted, but I exported it as JPEGs per view of whatever I want to view, and then filled it with color on Procreate. So you can imagine that workflow, that mobile workflow being, you know, being very useful for designers who own an iPad. And I think most footwear designers now sketch on the iPad. I've seen it a lot. So you can imagine how powerful this tool is. You know, you can just draw the outline of whatever part of the shoe you want, and then actually, well, you can actually add details. You can add the details to the iPad app of Gravity Sketch, or if you fancy, you can export it as a 2D image and then sketch over on the Procreate app. So it's pretty cool workflow, right? Just or maybe you're designing an outsole and you're trying out different sole patterns. Just draw the basic shape or the outline of the outsole with all the flex grooves and everything, and all the color. What do you call them? Paint grooves. Paint grooves. Yeah. And then export it in the Procreate and then explore different patterns, colors, quickly. Architecture, I haven't really imagined unless I draw or design really organic shapes of buildings like Zaha Hadid does. But one thing I think it is gonna be useful is for creating those 3D masses, 3D massing for studies. I can already imagine myself using it for form finding or programming of what floors go over what spaces go over where, right? And before we're used to doing bubble diagrams, call it bubble diagrams. That's basically you're programming the spaces of what spaces need to be next to each other, but you're still looking at it on a plan of view, right? And the challenge with that is a lot of the um, overlaying of the levels are left to the imagination. I mean, you can draw a section, but still it's 2D. Um, what if I can use this tool and actually sketch a 3D blocking or 3D bubble diagram of the space? Oh wow, that's pretty cool. It's already looking nice. Nice. Oh man, this is gonna be a challenge to try on the iPad. But let's try it out.
Start doing some graphical featuring and really start playing with shapes and forms at this stage, but you can see how we quickly have brought over the sketch from 2D into 3D, and the next phase would be to add some surfaces. But for this experiment, we're just going to play with surfacing just to give a little bit of character and less about actually trying to make a model. And the reason for this is we'll take this into Photoshop or maybe KeyShot or another software just to do a little bit of basic kind of rendering to give some imagery that we can then put on a mood board.
Yeah.
So we'll hide the last for now. There's probably a couple of things in here that will inevitably stand out, so or you just didn't get to, so you gotta come in and tighten those up and then just work through some of the small detailing. It's really at this stage something that
That's so easy to rotate that line with that grip.
is going to work best when you
Man.
do some of your final imagery. One thing that does get a little bit confusing at times is when you have all these lines and you have to look through them and it's a little bit busy. So often what we'll do is turn on the shoe last all the way
Turn it to
and
white.
unlock it. And because we're working in a white environment, we can just change the shoe last to
White.
completely white.
Nice.
And now you kind of have this block out. You can work around that now. So that does give you
Pretty
a bit
cool.
of
Nice.
of the design. And then you can lock the shoe last again and just leave that persistent in space. So we'll make another layer, and the way that we're going to use surfaces is kind of how you'd use your markers
Ah, okay.
if you're doing ID sketching, custom design sketching. So we're going to use the surfacing tool here. Open this up. We're going to turn on NURB surfacing, and we're going to use our bridge
Sorry,
surface
I
command.
didn't
And I'll turn the tension all the way
realize
down.
the sound was turned all
On
the way
this
down.
layer, what we want to do is turn them a little bit transparent, because if you use some of those markers before in your sketching process, you'll notice that as you layer them up, you can get some texture, some really nice texture. So we'll do a
So
little bit of that
let me
here as
pause
well.
this a little bit for a while.
And now we'll create a
Okay, so this part is, I don't know if it's available, but currently turn the light off. Currently, this is not available for the iPad app. The the surfacing. So I'd love to see this translated into the iPad app, but I don't. Well, I have no. I have an idea of how to do it using one control point, but it's gotta be a lot more difficult than just doing it on a VR to handle, to control, two-handed control. You know what I mean? So, Gravity Sketch team, I hope you can find a way to make this a bit easier to do in, or at least make this feature available on the iPad and make it intuitive for a pencil tool. Or maybe you can use a, maybe you can use, we can use our fingers to draw this the surface. It's gonna be a little bit tricky, but hey, it's better than nothing, right? Or maybe I could draw the shape with a pencil from point to point to point to point to point, like, just like the way you draw lines, and then adjust the grips later on to fit the shape of what shape I'm looking for. So this is where
color, maybe just a shade of gray.
this is where the iPad guys are missing out. You don't have that tool. I mean, we have, but it can only like draw flat surfaces. So I can't really drape. I can't drape a surface over two lines. But
And now we can just go in and do some of the bridging between surfaces.
let's watch
So
this
we can
a
draw
little bit.
bridges between
Bridge, okay,
two
call it
different
bridge.
things, and so that gives you this kind of partial stroke,
Wow.
and that will work really well for some of these upper components. So I'm going to do that for some of the upper, and then when we get to some of the lower ones, I might want to do the full sketch. just because a lot of those
What?
are quite similar in nature in terms of the length of the stroke and all that.
Wait.
And I'm
So
just arbitrarily doing this.
that
No, there is
bridge
no real rhyme or
tool.
reason at this stage.
Ah.
Some things will inevitably have some tricky geometry to work with.
Okay.
So for things like this, you might just want to go over and do this by hand.
So the bridge.
Sometimes it's nice to not stay within the lines, but just kind of slightly outside the lines. It gives it a little bit of this character.
Okay. So there's an option to do it sort of a 3D fill. So it's
So we'll
gonna
just go
fill
through this
two
a bit.
lines of where that
And
flat part touches. It's pretty cool.
yeah, and as you explore this, you'll see that you're already kind of coming into some challenges as well along the way. So this is like one of the pieces for the tongue of the shoe, and it
Okay.
didn't go too much as we expected.
Okay, guys, if you wanna
So we'll turn up the tension a
watch
little
the
bit
rest
and
of the
do
video,
this
just
bit here
search this title
on this side
or
as
go
well.
to the Gravity Sketch uh,
So here we can
YouTube account
directly edit
and
that
then
surface.
look for this video. I'm gonna stop the video right here because I want to start the iPad sketch before it gets too late. It's already 1:06.
And
I'm a
again,
little
this is
bit
not to make
sleepy,
the
but
final
let's
model.
power
This is
through this.
really just
Okay.
a nice way to get
Okay. So I'm gonna
a
stop
pretty
this
interesting 3D
share
sketch,
now.
which you can use in your workflow or
Okay, cool. So we now have
workflow, or you
a
can
top
present directly from the application.
view of my iPad. Okay, cool. So let's just open the my iPad, then close this thing. Yeah. Ooh. What's up? What's up, Mr. Bailey? So just to show you, this is my Instagram account, and this is the shoe actually. What the sketch that shaded there. Hey, um, it's a take on the Air Max 180, but reshaping this whole air sole to look like one piece. Also a little bit of heel support. That's it does two things. First, it cups the heel slightly, so it keeps it in place, but also it creates that surface to where you cannot glue the upper, the upper, the heel part of the upper to the air sole. There's gonna be a lot of movement for this part, this plastic part, so you need that extra surface area to stick that upper in. So this is basically the sketch. I won't. I don't know how to import this, but let me just try to just take a snapshot of it. I'm gonna just wing it. I don't know how to import an image, or I can trace over it on Gravity Sketch. But what I'm gonna do is actually, let me figure out. Send it to me, to myself via Messenger. How many of you guys do this also? You send yourself a message just to save the file there. You actually use Messenger as a some sort of cloud storage, which is free and I mean to my knowledge unlimited. Okay, so we're gonna open this Gravity Sketch app. So this is gonna greet you, this interface. It's pretty grayed out. Let me try and see if I can open up my, where did I send it? Facebook Messenger. Pull up the image. It's gonna take a couple of seconds. So bear with me, guys. And I'm using a lot of bandwidth on our internet, and these two cameras actually are connected via Wi-Fi, so they're taking up a little bit of the bandwidth. Okay, so I'll just leave this image on my screen, And here we are with the interface of Gravity Sketch. It's pretty straightforward, a bit plain. What I want, what I would have wanted really is, let me just write it down. What do you call this? So welcome page. I would have liked to see an option of what the units I want to use. If I want to use millimeters, centimeters, or meters, or inches, or feet. So whenever I start a new project, I already know what type or what unit I'm using. Right now, it's a little bit of a guessing game. So all of my sketches here um, are, or I don't know what units they are in. But being in 3D, you can always scale things up and down. It's just nice to know that scale very first part of for the very start. So you have options for landing pad. I think I have. Oh, you gotta log in. Contact about sketch. Okay, let's start with the sketch. Themes, new default. Okay, so this is the interface of Gravity Sketch. Okay, so it's pretty straightforward. You got the tools here. This is like a brush tool. Um, you can already see I drew an accidental line. So that's one thing that's really bugging me in this version of the iPad app. It's easy to draw with your finger. I just wish that they have an option to turn off finger painting and just take the input of the pencil to draw the lines. Okay. Okay. So what I usually do is figure out, okay, the views. Figure out the views first. So right now I am thinking that I'm looking at the plan view of the drawing based probably here. I don't know, see. But you can actually decide on your own. Right now, this doesn't have any label of if it's top, left, right, or bottom, but you'll. I think it's another way of them keeping the design or the interface or the commands, these things simple. Okay, now what am I gonna do? Okay, so this slider here, um, I don't know what it's called, but it kind of controls the plane, the elevations and the plane of what you're sketching. So like let's say this is here is gonna be your base. If you can think of it as your base plane, and you want to draw the next line above it, you gotta use this tool. So you gotta move that thing down a little bit. If you want to actually make it smaller, see, there it is. Now if you want to um, see another view there. So as you adjust your views, this thing also adjusts. So think of it as a slicing plane, as a section plane. So right now, let's consider this as a front elevation. If I draw a line here and here, you're gonna see these lines are gonna appear in the middle, or yeah, in the middle of the plan. See, when I do this, the camera rolls like that. So in a way, you can actually move this, and then you can draw another line, another line. Look at it in 3D. See how it moved. See, this gray plane actually disappears when you rotate it, but you can approximate it with that line over there. That's that small line there. You can have it approximated. So think of it as a slicing plane. Ah, yeah. You can actually this man. See how annoying that is. You can actually see the change in shade. Let me pick it up a little bit closer. Maybe you can see it if it's closer. See there that this part of the gray is darker, slightly darker than this part. So that means that this part is behind that section plane. If it's lighter, then it's in front of that section plane. So if I move this thing over here, let me see if I can do that. Oh, sorry. It's it's the other way around. See? See how that changed? It's because the section plane is actually in the middle of that line. See there? See? It sections off. It's like slicing a sausage. Okay, anyways, let's go back to the sketch. What do I do? What do I do is use this history tool. So this small clock icon in the corner is pretty powerful, but when it works, pretty powerful when it works. So you gotta just slide it back. If you wanna slide it all the way back, you gotta take it to the start of the document, start of the sketch, so you can actually undo everything. One thing I don't like about this is the the definition or um, the precision of the control of the undo. So it's pretty erratic. I find it a little bit too sensitive. That if you drag just a little bit too much, it's gonna do undo everything. See? There's no see? There's no like medium speed to it. It's just gonna it's pretty hard to control. Something that can actually improve on, right? Okay, so okay, so let's just undo everything. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start with the shape of the foot outsole. So I'm gonna assume this is the top view, and I'm drawing on the 0, 0 plane. So what I'm gonna do is, what do I use to draw? I don't let oh man. Let's see if I learn something in the video that's shaded. So you can actually lock that layer. Huh. Ah yeah. So what I actually do first is draw that outline of the outsole, plan view, and then draw the silhouette of the shoe on the elevation. That way we can have a horizontal plane and a vertical plane on top of each other, and that's gonna serve as our guides on the general location of our lines, right? So that's gonna define the width and the height of the shoe. So in a way, it's a wireframe representation of a last. So let's do that. Let me see if I can. This is the first time I'm gonna use this tool. So last. Let's see if I can. How much do you want? How cool do you want last to look like? I don't know. Let's use this tapered pen tool. And again, when I adjust this, there's no real preview of the shape of the pen. So again, I'm left guessing on what's gonna look like. But anyways, let's just experiment. Okay, no, that's too big. So that means with this setting, the size or the scale of the drawing is like this. So you can already imagine that the drawing that this thing is too what do you call this, small. So I don't know if I can zoom out. I don't know if I can zoom out. There's no indication of me zooming in and out, but let's just adjust the pencil or the pen tip for now. You can actually just draw the line and then they come in later and adjust it. I think, huh? I don't know. You can? Hmm, sorry. Ah, yeah, you can. I think you can. Ah, yeah. See. Oh, that's the loop tool. How do you do it? Do it like this and then maybe there's a loop. Oh, let's try it out. Let me just delete this first. Okay. Delete. See those things? They're all those tapping of the pencil, and they're all left in there. I don't know how, but let's try. Maybe I could select them all like that. It would be fun if there's a selection like that, like a lasso select or a window select or a cross selection select left and right. This is gonna be easier that way. So right now, I gotta come in and do these things manually, one by one. And you can actually use the history tool right there, but it's gonna take us. I don't know. Can try it out later. Okay, so back to this, and then what did he do? He turned it into a loop. Let's see if this thing's close. Uh, did it? I don't see it closing. That's one more thing. Seeing the zoom is non-existent, I guess. Or maybe I'm just see, I have to exit the. Oh yeah, I turned it. See how the finger does that? You gotta be really careful with these things. Okay, let me see if I can. Oh, select this. Select it. Select it. Oh man, there's another. Oh, yeah, there, it closed. Okay, but I don't want to do that right now. What I want to do is go back. Oh, ew. Just go back and do the hokey pokey. Getting. Okay, okay, okay. What I want to do is actually draw a line like that. Or maybe let's draw that outsole already. How is the outsole gonna look like? Oh, this is gonna take a little bit of figuring out. Hmm. Let's make this the lateral part and this the middle part. So okay, now we can come in and edit this thing. So you kind of see that there are a lot of dots, like a lot of grips. What I like to do is use this tool. So when you tap that, some of the grips disappear. So it simplifies the shape, and you can do it to a certain level, but be careful because you can't undo that anymore. So you can kind of, oh man, you can kind of see how it kind of covers that. It's annoying, a little bit annoying, not so annoying, a little bit annoying. So let's try and make sure to see how it's easy to miss that grip. If you miss that grip, it's gonna It's gonna F off your rhythm. Grips are so small. See? See how every time you miss a grip it resets. That's a little bit annoying. Okay. Okay. Are you happy with that? Let me see. Mm, drawing? Maybe. Okay, I'm gonna lower the complexity of the polygon again, of the line. Lessen the grips. See? Now there's a dot there. And if you're not careful, you're gonna have a lot of those. And if you have a lot of those, sometimes it's a pain in the butt to edit. Because they are a pain in the butt to edit. It's pretty hard to go back and change them all. But here, is it too rounded? Looks like a boot. Let's fix that. This is where it's a bit time consuming, but trust me, it's gonna be worth it in the end. Okay. Ah, see there? See how hard it is to, because this part is really tapered in, right? So it's really hard to select that grip. See, some more things that's to improve on. Now this feedback is a work in progress, right? So sometimes just gotta repeat this thing over and over till you get it right. That's just how it is. It's sometimes pretty hard to pick. And man, let me see if this I can clean this up a bit more. Still not happy with the shape. Shape is man, oh man. See, I'm actually selecting right on top of it, but it doesn't want to move. See? I don't know if my aim's funky or I just gotta repeat it. Oh man, sorry, I keep hitting the camera. already forgot how frustrating this thing is. Let me just try this now. Anyways, like Shay said, it's good to keep some of the imperfections, because this is actually a sketch. So I guess my aim here is just to keep. I mean, we can still adjust that later on. So okay, let's do that. Okay, now let's do the upper part. Okay. So gotta reposition this to approximately to the middle of the shoe. This is supposed to be like angled like that, but for now let's just keep it like that. Then we are going to draw the shape, the general shape of the shoe. Okay, gotta draw last. Hopefully I can do it. Pretty cool. Okay. Yeah, the problem with this thing is I don't know how to adjust it. It keeps that same size. Doesn't want to change. So that's a little bit problematic. Okay, let me just have a better view of where the last should be. And again, these are approximates, but it doesn't hurt to get it right the first time, right? Change it to a lower polygon, then adjust as needed. Oh, actually, the lines on my sketch are a little bit flatter. Right? Okay. The other tweaking. This shape looks super fun. See, if I do this, I don't know how to. Um, oh wait, there's a mirrored. I don't know how that works, but Okay, so this is what happened. I kind of pushed or selected this low poly tool a little bit too far, and there's no way to undo it. Just gotta write the line again. Ooh, there is a see super responsive. I mean, who's complaining, right? Super responsive, but oh well. Let's keep the sketch fast. And I wish I know how to import an image. So you can actually trace over it first. But we work with whatever we have, so you know, make it work. Designers make it work. Shout out to Tim Gunn. Okay, it looks pretty okay, right? Anyways, I'm gonna be working with this. Okay, let's try and create a new layer. Sketch. Master. Return. The return of the sketch master. I don't know what color to pick. I don't want another gray. For now, right? So it starts here. Okay. Right. Then this. No. This is straight line like that. Okay. And then another line. I think it goes like that. Is it? Right. Supposed to be this. Just laying down the lines. Try and make it fun. Even if it doesn't look like it, but okay. I really wish I can do that. So the way we do this is we sketch. I sketch it on one plane, and then you just move on from there. You just grow it from there. So once you grow the sketch, draw all the lines, draw the details.